Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So in today's video I'm going to be doing if I had to declutter one palette from each brand. These are the palettes. Thankfully it's just a video idea. It's not really happening anytime soon. So there are a few palettes in here that I am kind of like on the fence about since I decluttered back in December, but overall right now a lot of these I don't feel like decluttering. This is just a video idea. If you'd love to see what palettes I picked, definitely continue watching. Also, if you're not yet subscribed, please subscribe. I do upload 3 times a week, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. Definitely subscribe so you don't miss out. And let's just go ahead and jump right in. So again, I did get my first video idea, which was the if I could only keep one from each palette from Betty Jean. I believe she has a video for this as well if she had to declutter one. So I'll link her video down below as well so you guys can check her out. So yeah, we're gonna get started on this pile of palettes. The first brand I'm gonna talk about is Huda Beauty. This one I've mentioned in previous declutters that I keep debating on decluttering or not, but the reason why I got it was for sentimental reasons, and I feel kind of sad doing it, but yeah, this is like the one that I don't really like color story. I need to use it more. It's been a while, but this is my Huda Beauty Emerald Obsessions palette. This is my daughter's birthstone, so that's the reason why I picked it up. I also got Ruby for myself and Topaz for my husband, and I just wasn't impressed with this one, so I don't declutter because I got it for sentimental reasons, but this would be the one if I had to declutter one. Next up is Viseart. The one that I picked was the Dark Edit palette. I debated on the other smaller one I have. I think it's Rose Edit, but I decided that this is something I have a ton of in my collection, like color story wise. Let me take off this plastic. It's really pigmented and actually really nice, but compared to the other ones that I do have, I like a little better. And this is, again, pigmented and nice, but thankfully this is just an idea, a video, and it's not for real. So I really like it, but again, I had to pick one. Next up is NARS. I only have 2 palettes, so I had to go with the opposite one that I picked from the previous video. That one's already up, so if you guys are interested, definitely check it out. But it's my NARS Cool Crush palette, which actually I really like. The only thing I feel like that's missing in this one is a dark shade to deepen the outer corner, like a dark purple or a dark brown. I actually really like this palette, but again, I only feel like it's missing that dark shade to deepen the outer corner. It has a ton of light shades, so it definitely could have given me another like deeper shade to deepen the look. But next up, Lunar Beauty. This was another one that I didn't want to put in this video. I had 3 Lunar Beauty palettes, but in December I decluttered one, so I had to pick with this one to declutter. This is the Eternal Eclipse. I love this color story. I think it's so nice and dark and smoky and really nice, but again, I only have 2 palettes, so I had to pick the other one from the 2 that I had to keep. So I don't know what to say. I really like the formula on this. So a lot of these palettes that I'm mentioning I don't actually not like for my collection, so it's kind of weird to say like, oh, I don't like this or that, but because a lot of these I actually really like. Yeah, I just went with the one that I had 2 of. I had to pick the opposite. This one I picked for a reason. This is the Melt Cosmetics Smoke Sessions palette, which I actually really like. But the reason why I'm decluttering is because it's turning into a crumbly mess. So I figured, hey, if I had to declutter one, it'd be this one. Yeah, I wasn't experiencing the crummy puffiness until recently, and it might be just the way I've been storing it. But that's the reason why I'd be decluttering this, because I like this color story. I think it's really nice, and the shimmers are super nice and pretty, but mine is tearing up in here, so I figured let's get rid of this if we had to, just because it's falling apart on me. ColourPop is next on the list, and this one was one that I thought about decluttering. This is the Ornate palette. I love the packaging, but again, the color story is something that I have tons and tons of in my collection. That's the reason why I picked this, and I do feel like the mattes in here are more on the drier side. Yeah, that's the reason why I picked it, just because, again, it's not like the super pigmented formula that ColourPop usually has. I feel like sometimes their shadows are like either drying or they're like really good. So this is definitely one that I thought was kind of more on the drier side. For Sigma, I actually debated that I probably should have picked this as like a keep, but I went with the other one just because the color story. This is the Sigma Magnifique, which I actually really like it. I taken it a few times to travel, my makeup travel bag. And I can use every single shade in here. It's actually really good. Again, I'm only picking this because I only have 2 for Sigma, but yeah. Odin's Eye is next, and I actually really like this, but I was like, I can't get rid of my Annette's Makeup Corner collab, so I decided to pick this one instead. This is a Red Dragon in collab with Odin's Eye and Judy. I don't know who Judy is, but actually I really like your palette. I really like this palette, but again, it was between this one or the Annette Makeup Corner, the, what is it, Wild Whoops? I don't remember the name of it, but I just feel like the other one, the color story is more unique, but it was definitely a little harder for me to work with just because it's more on the deeper shades. This one definitely could have stolen the show for the other one. I just kind of went with color story and more of uniqueness in my collection, but if I had to pick one of which one of the 2 was my favorite, it would definitely be this one and not the Annette's palette. I cheated on that one, I guess. Next up is Jeffree Star Cosmetics. Again, I have a few of his palettes, so I am including it in this video. And the one that I would declutter would be the Jawbreaker palette, which I actually really like. And this one, I remember it being in, like, if I could only keep 10 palettes. So I'm actually surprised I put this in here. It was between this one and Blood Sugar, and I was thinking, okay, the only reason you don't like Blood Sugar is because of the packaging. This one's nice as well, and I don't know. I think I'm gonna have to change it and say Blood Sugar just because I have more options with this. So I'm actually gonna keep this for this video and say that I want to declutter Blood Sugar just because there's a lot of like the same kind of tones in that palette, and I have very many palettes like that in my collection. So I'm gonna keep my Jawbreaker. Fantasy Declutter is staying, and I'm gonna declutter Blood Sugar. And also, it's kind of the same color story as my Venus XL. I don't know, am I making the right decision? Because now I'll be decluttering 2 burgundy palettes. I guess that's what it's gonna be. So this one right here, Venus XL, is one that's getting decluttered. I only have 2 palettes in this brand as well. Actually, it's really nice. I'm trying to find a reason why I don't like this palette and why I'm decluttering it, even though again, it's not for reals. It's really nice. I need to actually use this palette more now that it's really not being decluttered from my collection, but I don't know. I decided to pick this one as a declutter for this video just because a lot of the tones in here are super similar and I get really similar looks with this palette. And then Urban Decay I also only have 2 palettes of, and I went with the Ultraviolet to declutter just because it's really light tones and I felt like it was too light for my liking. But now that I started another job, or I've been at this job for 7 months now, I think it's perfect just because the reason why wanting to declutter it was because I felt like it wasn't pigmented enough, but now that I'm in this other job, I feel like it'd be perfect for that job because the shadow's not going to be like overpowering or anything. So again, I only have 2, so I had to go with the opposite. Okay, this one right here for Beauty Bay, I went with Wilderness palette just because I didn't want to declutter my Made by Mitchell palette. So I'm like, girl, Wilderness, I'm sorry, you're gonna have to go. This is really nice. I really like these colors right here, like they're calling me right now. But I have reds. Blues I don't really reach for, so I'm okay with that. Greens, I have other greens in my collection, so that's the reason why. I have a lot of these tones everywhere else, but Made by Mitchell palette, I only have 1. Menagerie Cosmetics, I have 2. And again, I kept the one I wanted, so this one's getting decluttered. Killer Purr palette, I don't like the packaging. I don't know. It's cute, but I don't know, for an eyeshadow palette, you know? The color story is plain, simple, everyday shades. They don't really like call me. I'm more of like wearing burgundy shades and like orangey shades. This one's, I don't know, I feel like it's kind of boring, so that's the reason why. Nomad Cosmetics Haunted Europe is my choice to declutter. I actually really like this side of the palette. This side is kind of mid to me. I'm not really a big gold palette shadow type of girl. Like we could have gone with just one gold shadow, you know? And maybe put a champagne color in here. I don't know. That's the reason why. I don't know. I don't have very many explanations why I'm decluttering something that's not really real, you know? Okay, Give Me Glow Cosmetics Juicy Olive. The reason why I picked this one to declutter is because every single look I've done using this palette looks the same. I had it in a Shop My Stash video and I'm like, this looks like the same look I created yesterday, even though I used different shades in the palette. The shimmers are pretty similar, and then these two, this green and that green are pretty similar as well. I feel like there could have been a little more variety. I don't know. I just create the same looks when I use this, so that's why. Alien Cosmetics, which is the Unearthly Cosmetics. They switched to Unearthly. Again, I only have 2 of, and this is the Not Normal palette. The color story is fun, but I don't know. I wasn't like super impressed with this. Like looks and stuff, it was nice and all, but that's the reason why. The Unearthed, the one that I picked to keep, I just feel like it has more dimension and more like shadow, different kinds of tones to use and create looks. And it has multi-chromes in it too, or duochromes. So that's why I picked the other one over this one. Okay, and this one by Juvia's Place, I also only have 2 of. And I kind of debated on like which one to pick to keep, but this one's the Tribe. This one's actually pretty fun, and this one does have a duochrome. This one, it looks like a champagne, but it actually reflects green on the eyes. It's actually a really good palette. But yeah, I just picked the other one to keep just because I feel like I can use it more for every day, whereas this one's more bold and it's fun. Yeah. For BH Cosmetics, I went with the Zodiac palette and actually really like this palette. The only reason why I picked it to declutter was because it's very old. I've had it for quite some time and it's still pigmented. It still works. So every time I do a declutter, I want to declutter this, but then I look at the inside and I'm like, you can't declutter. It's so pretty and it is very beautiful. The shimmers are really nice. The mattes are really pigmented as well. I know eventually I will have to really declutter it, but for right now, it's just gonna keep staying in my collection. Next up, I have Natasha Denona, and the one that I went to declutter is my little mini one. It's the only mini I have, but it's the one I picked to declutter. Actually really nice for traveling. When I travel, I wear more color when I'm home, I guess, than when I travel. I just want to do something really quick. And I just went with this because it was small, compact. I don't know. I just decided to get rid of something that is smaller than bigger palettes that I have from Natasha Denona. This one by Kaleidos is the Futurism 6 Lunar Lavender, and I decided to declutter this because I feel like the purples in here aren't very pigmented, which I would probably declutter in the future, to be honest, but what keeps me keeping it is the shimmers that are in here. They're very beautiful and shimmery and reflective and really, really nice. The 2 purples in here are not very pigmented. You definitely have to really swirl your brush in there. That's why this one was kind of easy to pick out from Kaleidos. Another one that I've debated on decluttering for reals is this one by Dose of Colors. This is a Francation. I think I decluttered it and I just brought it back into my collection because it's been limited edition. I need to use it to see if I really want to declutter or keep it. I don't know. Again, just everyday shades. These 2 are kind of more on the uniqueness of it, but I don't know. It was, again, I had 3 palettes. I picked 1 to keep and then I had the 2 to pick from, and the other one was, I forgot the name of it that I have. I like color more than just something super simple like this. From ABH, I decided that I need to use this more after filming this video. This is the Jackie Aina palette. I've thought of decluttering this in the past, but I'm like, you can't get it anymore. You should definitely use it more before you really consider decluttering it. This is what the color story looks like. Again, I do need to reach for this more. I don't know, just the color story I feel like is kind of all over the place a little bit, so I definitely need to play with this a little more. And this one was definitely one that I was like, I think if you had to declutter something, it'd be this. I've thought of decluttering the Subculture as well, but color story wise, I just went with decluttering the Jackie Aina palette. A few more palettes to go. Next up is Ace Beauté, and again, I only have 2 palettes from them. This is the Oceanic palette, which is actually a really fun color story. I don't have very many shades like this in my collection. I kept the Tropical Vibes, but now looking at this, I probably should have opened this to see if I really wanted to keep Tropical Vibes in my keep video, because this one's really fun. But it is Ace Beauté. Did it break? I don't think it did. But I'm glad I have carpet, or else this shadow would have been broken. I need to glue that back in, but this is really nice besides that shadow falling out. I haven't had any issues with the pigment on this one. Yeah, I like it. I think it's nice. Good thing I'm not really decluttering it. Sydney Grace, I decided to pick the new one that I haven't used yet just because I don't want to get rid of my Quintessence palette, and this one kind of reminds me of the one that I picked to keep, which was the Tiny Marvels palette. So that's the reason why I decided, hey, okay, you're not going to really need this, so you might as well just declutter it for the video. But I haven't used this palette, so this is a new palette I haven't tried out yet. I actually really like this, so yeah, This is the one I picked because I really liked Sydney Grace formula. And then I haven't used this one either, but I would declutter this one since I have this and the Surge palette. I decided to keep the Surge, so then I guess the Dollhouse is the one that's going to be getting decluttered. I think the color story is pretty unique, but I feel like the dark shades in here look very similar. I guess not in person, they kind of don't, but in pictures they did. And on the Surge palette, which is the one that I kept, I feel like you can definitely tell the difference of the deep shades in that palette. So that's the reason why I kept the Surge palette. And I haven't used this palette, so I'm sure I'll be blown away by this one too. Again, I'm just picking the opposite of what I picked since I only have 2 palettes to pick from. Okay, so just like the first video where I had to pick 1 palette per brand, but I picked... For Pat McGrath, I picked 3 different ones because a 6 pan, a mega, and a 10 pan palette. Is it 10 pan? I believe so. So I only have 2 of the 6, so I went with decluttering the Mothership Sublime palette. And I don't know, I definitely have thought of decluttering this for reals, but then I opened it up and I'm like, this is so pretty. And this is like a dual chrome, multi-chrome. It's like gold, but like magenta, but super pretty. It's really, really nice. This is also another one that I really need to use more often. And then for my mega palette, again, I only have the other one, which I think there's only 2 out. And I decided to declutter this one just because I feel like the shades are kind of all over the place. And there's only, I think there was only 2 or 3 mattes in the entire palette. And that's just not very mattes. Not very many mattes to play with and mix and match with all these other beautiful shimmers that are in here. The mattes actually really go well with the shimmers that are in here. I just feel like I need more mattes. So I don't know. I definitely like the other one better. And then lastly, for my 10 pan palette that I would declutter would be my Bronze Seduction. This is the first big Mothership palette I picked up. And actually really wasn't that impressed with the formula. And I don't know, I just didn't give up on her, so I kept buying other 10 pan palettes, and I'm definitely more impressed with the other 10 pan palettes than I am with this one. So this is the Sublime Bronze Seduction. Sublime? I don't know where I came with Sublime, but it's the Mothership 5 Bronze Seduction palette. Here is the color story. It's so beautiful again, but I feel like the mattes in here are kind of more on the drier side. The shimmers didn't really impress me, the ones over here anyways, because these ones are beautiful. And can you guys see that this one shifts like pink to green to gold? It's like so beautiful. Like the color story is really, really nice, but the pigment on this I feel like is not as good as the other Mothership palettes I do have. Now to think of it, because I honestly did think about decluttering this. I think it's really pretty, but again, I'm not like overly impressed with the formula of the mattes in this palette. But again, still a nice palette. Color story is pretty. The shimmers in this palette's really, really beautiful. Are really, really pretty. So that is the reason why I picked this one, just because the mattes aren't on par with the rest of the palettes that I do have. So those are all the palettes that if I had to declutter one from each brand that I do own more of 2 palettes of, these would be it. These are the palettes. Thankfully, this is not for reals. It's just a video. So yeah, I will definitely keep enjoying these palettes as long as I don't really feel like decluttering for reals. So if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Let me know if you did this video a while ago, I'm sure. I'm just jumping on the bandwagon a little late, but better late than never, right? So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye!